to another episode of Deep in the Heart. I'm Earl. We've got Dane.
I'm Dane.
And we have a special guest today, an expert, Andrew Flanagan.
No, not an expert. No.
Okay, he's not an expert. But
but
what we're talking about today is pot. Has it changed America? Has America gone to pot? So we all have a difference of opinion here. Me and Dane more especially, but Andrew's going to kind of...
I'd say I'm a little bit in the middle on it because there are, in my opinion, personally, there are pros and cons to both sides. You know, there's the medical aspect of it, which some people think is really helpful. There's the personal, social aspect of it, which some think is really hurtful. And so it's just kind of like it's just like any other drug in America or substance, really.
I agree sort of with that. I don't feel like that marijuana is like any other drug in America. I really don't, because marijuana is
natural.
It's natural, and you hang it up and dry it.
That's right.
And that's
there
it.
You go.
You don't add nothing to it. You don't taint it. It is what it is.
Well, I think we don't even have to have a conversation. Mike has already told it. It's natural. God made it. Let's go ahead. I disagree 110%. I do agree with medical benefits of marijuana. Recreationally, I think it's just like anything else. Any other bad habit, I think it's possibly as bad as being alcoholic or alcoholism or whatever. I don't agree with it.
So the baseline is that everybody agrees with me.
Yes.
On both sides.
Yes. Yeah.
So,
see? There you go.
I just like to be agreeable.
Statistically, what do you think what does it hurt?
What does it hurt?
Yeah.
So this kind of comes from a background of knowing people that have been involved with it. There are some that have personality differences.
Yeah.
That can control the drug.
Right.
And there are some that let the drug control them. And so that's when it becomes a problem. Is the downfall of it is when the drug controls the person instead of the other way around.
Okay, well,
statistically, how often do you think that's the case?
Okay, now that I haven't done any research on.
Okay.
I just know there are people in my life that have dealt with it that have different personalities that have dealt with it differently.
Well, and that's exactly what I was saying earlier. We were having a conversation, Michael and I. There are people in my life that I feel like, had they never tried marijuana, they would have never graduated to something a little harder, something a lot more dangerous, something that actually ruined their life. And
do you think that it started with marijuana, or do you think it started with alcohol?
No, I do think it started with marijuana. In the three examples that I gave you earlier, which I'm not naming any names, of course they probably don't matter. I don't care because they're all in prison, I think. But those people are dead. Started with marijuana and graduated to whatever they could get their hands on. I do know people that have used marijuana and other hard drugs and still were able to lead a productive life, but they gave all that up because they couldn't control it. It controlled them.
So you don't think that they can continue through life and be a user of marijuana and be productive?
I can't say that because I have seen examples of people that can. I have seen examples of people can, and I have seen the benefits too of people for treatment for disease and cancer and those sorts of things. A more holistic approach rather than some of the pharmaceuticals out there that the cure is worse than the disease. I'm like you. I think naturally, yes, God did provide it for those purposes. But it's the people that use it recreationally and abuse it that are the ones that concern me most. And there's no limit. When you legalize it for recreational purposes, there's no test that you have to take to say, hey, are you susceptible to abusing this drug?
That was going to be my question.
Do you feel like it's a gateway drug?
Well, I think it can be. And that's what I think it boils down to. And again, this is just my opinion. I think it goes back to the person, not necessarily the drug. Because the personality, there are certain people that are more susceptible to things like that.
An addictive personality.
Right. And that's where you get into
That-
it's always chasing that better high is what
Okay.
it's been described as.
Right.
Like people that can't get that first high again are just always looking for something better.
Well, I mean, I feel like
Better.
an alcoholic is an alcoholic because that's a personality trait that they have. I stopped drinking 6 years ago. I set it down, and that's the last time I drank it. I didn't drink it because I had to have it. I drank it because I wanted to. Well, when I decided that was it, that was it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like there are people that can smoke pot and drink alcohol and put it down.
Mm.
I don't think it controls them. I don't think it dictates what they're going to do through the day. But I feel like once someone starts doing something in the hard drugs that you so believe is a gateway from marijuana, I don't think that they can get away from that. And I don't think people that just smoke marijuana because they want to are going to turn to meth or
Not
heroin or
every
things
single
like
one
that.
of them, and that's not what I'm saying. But when you legalize marijuana, like I said, there's no disclaimer. There's no test that you have to take. There's no verification process or validation process that says, hey, it's okay for you to take it because we know you're going to be responsible and we know you're going to use this and not abuse it. There's none of that when you legalize it. It's for everyone.
Do you know why that, say, place of employment, why they don't allow any form of marijuana use as an employee? It's not because of marijuana. It's because there's no test that tells you how much is in your system right now. I mean, yes, there can be, but you have to send it. They can't just go in there and say, hey, you're drunk, go home.
Yeah, but we can all agree
I mean,
that it can alter you.
You can. There are times where you can look at somebody
Yeah,
and just go, "Oh yeah, you need to go.
baked, man.
Yes,
You need to not
I
be here."
agree, but they're not going to say, you blow on this and you're 3 times the legal limit. There's not. They can't do that on the spot. So therefore, you can have none.
Well, do you really think that it's good for someone to be altered
No, I do not.
and driving a 4,000-pound forklift? I don't think that that's a good idea. I really don't.
I know, and it's the same way with alcohol.
Yeah.
I just don't.
I'm not a
That's why they fire them when they get.
proponent of that too.
But I don't know. I guess I'm not on the fence about it.
Yeah.
I see it one way.
Right.
I don't think it's bad. Do I do it? No.
But I mean, because it's against the law, and you're a law-abiding citizen. I agree. That's what I'm saying. When you go and legalize it, that changes people's
But does it
perspective.
What about crime?
Okay. Huh?
What about the crime rate? Do you think that
Well,
in
that's part of
Colorado,
the crime rate. Yeah, crime rate. Yeah.
now that they've legalized it, legalized in Colorado, do you think crime went up or do you think crime went down?
I would err on the side of statistically, I would think that crime went down just because if marijuana is not a crime anymore, then all of those misdemeanors and felony charges that people will get from those crimes are diminished completely.
Do you think theft went up or do you think theft went down?
I have no idea when it comes to that.
That's a question I want to know.
I have heard statistically, though, that DWIs, DUIs, driving under the influence, all of those cases have gone up in the places where those things are legalized. Because people don't feel, just like you, hey man, I smoked a doobie or I took a couple hits off of one. I'm not in a bad way. But your reflexes, it's a proven fact. Your reflexes do slow down. It affects you chemically in a way that slows you down so you can't react as fast as you need to.
I agree with that. What do you think about, say, somebody with depression? Do you think it helps them?
I lean more towards the stress side of things. So because weed and marijuana is a depressant drug, and so medically speaking, that's what they call it. And so it, like you said, it takes down the reflex timing and all things like that, but it also takes down your levels of anxiety and stress, and that's why it is scientifically proven to be very helpful medically.
Yeah.
And you can have that without the, what do they call it? The psycho, the psycho part of the drug, the part that creates feelings of paranoia. Or yes, yeah, because everybody reacts differently to it. So it's like feelings of paranoia, or like being on that. Some people get super, like, start looking around the room. They're like, "Oh man, I think my chair is sideways," and they're just sitting still. And it's like, I mean, it. Yeah, so you can have all of those good effects without the side that creates that quote unquote high that some people look for.
Yeah. Dane, let me ask you this: how do you think it impacts the youth?
Okay, that's the one thing. When we sit here and we open up Pandora's box, you cannot close it. That's the point I'm trying to make. So once it becomes okay and acceptable, that they're going to sit there, and I don't know personally or statistically what the circumstances or instances are, but maturity wise, they cannot handle, in my opinion, they can't handle smoking pot because it does change them. It just like alcohol. I don't think that a 13-year-old kid should be out drinking. Not that I didn't do it when I was 13, 14 years old, but
hypocrisy.
But now, after I'm 49 years old, I have all this experience. I have a wealth of knowledge that I can share and say, "Hey, this is not something we need to do."
Well, even if they legalize it, you can't buy cigarettes, or you couldn't buy any tobacco product until you were 18.
18, right?
It still didn't stop them from buying cigarettes and doing smoking.
I guarantee.
Yeah, that's what we had a conversation about it the other day, and it was like, well, some guns are illegal, but guess what? Still gets bought by certain people.
Right.
It happens. But I mean, yeah, there's all kinds of, just because you make something legal or illegal doesn't mean that it's not going to get used and abused anyway. And that's what. So what would be the pros and cons to having it legalized? Like in states like Colorado, are there pros and cons to having it legal?
Okay, I don't think particularly in Colorado.
Dane's real argument is he hates the way it smells.
No, I didn't. He said, "Tell you."
What really happened is I was up on Pikes Peak and it smelled like whatever.
No, every time I'm looking for a skunk, scare me to death.
Yeah,
but I can't stand the smell. But I think it's perfectly okay for medicinal purposes. If a doctor wanted to prescribe it, I think it's perfectly okay to have a prescription for marijuana for anxiety. I don't think it's good for depression because, like you said, it is a depressant. Okay, I think if you're down, you're only going down further.
Well, I kind of meant, anxiety.
Anxiety? Oh, okay,
yeah.
I think
depression,
a lot of times...
To me, depression and anxiety kind of are in the same...
Well, and they put it in the same deal, but they're two different things.
Oh,
anxiety is... I mean, it's nervous
energy. It's a bad form of ADD.
Well, exactly. It's nervous energy that and paranoia and all those other things are contributing factors. But for me to say, "Hey, I think you need to go smoke a joint because you're jacked up, dude."
What would you think if you had a kid that was ADHD, real hyper, and the doctor prescribed him gummies?
I don't know that would be a bad thing. If it's prescribed, I trust. Well, I used to trust the medical. I used to trust the medical industry a lot more than I do now. I really have.
What are you
with farming? But I have a doctor, my personal doctor. If he said, "Hey, Dane, I think you need to chill out, brother. I think you need to smoke some pot or take some gummies. Take the edge off, man, because the way you handle or the way you approach life is too high strung. It's too intense. You need to mellow out." I would be
I've been telling you that for years.
I do drink a beer occasionally to take the edge off. I come back on coffee, man. 5 cups a day. I mean, but anyway.
So you need to take...
I can't speak to that. Can't live without my coffee.
Right.
Me too.
We got to have our vices. Mine's not marijuana, obviously, but...
I guess reason I don't really see it as a problem is because just like what you said, everybody has a vice, and alcohol is just as much mind altering as marijuana.
I agree.
And I just, for some reason, and I'll be honest with you, years ago I had a problem with it because I never saw anybody that, like you said, was productive that wasn't some form, mind altered, be it marijuana or
But
whatever it
okay.
was.
We don't know what the health risks are either. We see an instance and an increase in Alzheimer's and this, that, and everything. I can't attribute any of that to marijuana. What I can say is I think that there's some chemical issues that have affected our health, mental and otherwise, because depression it's higher than it's probably ever been in the history of this country. Anxiety, those sorts of things, and we treat them with flippantly. We treat them with, without any kind of regard for the consequences, and that's what bothers me. So we're going to legalize marijuana, make it recreational for everybody to use without any kind of control.
So how would you feel if it was legalized 21 and over?
I guess I feel like that would probably be more responsible.
I can agree with that. I would think it would be more responsible. And like I talked about, it seems like we always get back to the alcohol question or conversation, and it can be treated that way, but it is harder to regulate because it is a natural substance. You don't add a lot to it in order to get it ready to use, I guess. Right. And so it's one of those things where in order to legalize it, I think personally, in order to legalize it at a federal level, they would have to do research upon research in order to get it ready.
Right.
In order to get ready for them to legalize it. Because then they have to have all those things.
But then I don't think pharma needs to be in there synthesizing marijuana either.
No,
because
I don't think that
we're going to end up with something like the opioid crisis where they took heroin and they said, this makes people feel great.
Nowadays you're getting, the cartels are sending marijuana across the border laced with fentanyl.
Right.
Did you think if it was legalized here, then the cartels would stop sending it across the border?
But do we trust regulations? Do we trust?
No, but the thing is, Dane, what I'm trying to say is, if the cartels know that it's legalized in the United States, they're going to stop sending it across the border.
I don't know that they'd stop. They might send an inferior product.
They might increase the price also.
Yeah.
Because now it's going to be... So that's what... Let's play a fun game. Why don't you tell me the pros of legalizing marijuana in a state? You tell me the cons. Because y'all are on different sides. Well, I just want to see. I want to see if you can find... yeah.
To me,
legalizing both. I gotta put regulations on it.
Okay.
Both medicinally and recreationally.
Okay.
Fully legalized in a state. Pros.
Okay, I can't find any pros for recreational. I'm not a user though. So, and in my experience, it's always been a terrible outcome. Okay, so I just have to go by personal experience in that aspect. Now, I can also go by personal experience on the medical side. I do know that there are benefits. Okay. The only deal is, just like any other drug out there or any other treatment, there's a consequence too. Mm-hmm. It's laws of physics apply always. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. So I just have to apply that knowledge to every single thing. And I think that there's a place for it. I don't think that the instance of glaucoma increased by 900% when they legalized medical marijuana in Oklahoma. But I do see where it could benefit people, where pain is an issue, where anxiety is an issue, where you want to kind of control certain things and mellow people out, take an edge off of them.
Well, I'm kind of glad you chose him first because it gave me an opportunity to really think about me having to come up with cons of legalizing it.
Right.
Well, we all know that Adderall in this is legal.
Right.
Okay, that's an ADD drug.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you have someone that has a legal prescription for Adderall or Xanax, or you just name it.
Yeah, they're abused.
Okay. Someone knows that they have a legal prescription for this. They go and they say, "Hey man, what's going on?" They come to their house and they go in their bathroom and they steal their prescription. So if someone has a legal prescription for marijuana and this person does not, and they know they do, they could go and they could steal their prescription for
Are
marijuana.
you con though? I mean, that sounds like you might still be pro.
I am given a true con for what
For legalizing.
For legalizing it.
Yeah, because then you would have
the
it would just
haves
be
and have
it
not.
would just be readily available in
Right.
the household. Yeah,
right.
I can see that.
Yeah, well, the point I was trying to
More in line of a young kid.
Yes,
getting
youth.
it.
Exactly.
Youth getting it because they can't go to a store and buy it because they're not 21 or whatever. But
Right.
that's
but
the
you know
con
as
that
well
I
as
can
I
come
do.
up
I
with.
just got back from Vegas. You can get pot anywhere you want to, man. I'm telling you. And it doesn't matter what age you are because there's no. That's what I'm saying. There's no way to regulate it. Just like you were saying, on a federal level, if they wanted to make all 50 states, make it legal in all 50 states, they would have to do a better job of, just like in the alcohol industry, ATF, they control, the distribution of it and everything else like that. There are people that, I'm sorry, there was a
Technical difficulty.
distracted me a
Our
little bit.
producer back there is making a lot of racket.
But there are people that abuse every single situation. I mean, there are opportunists that take advantage of every single thing. And I think that there would have to be some kind of.
Well, they did raise the speed limit to 75 and we all drive 85. You're going to push the
I drive 76, just so everybody knows.
But you do that in a 30.
We're not going to talk about bad drivers.
But what about for each individual state? Good or bad?
Well, okay, and that's another thing about me. I totally believe in a constitutional republic. And I think that it is up to the states to make those kinds of decisions. I don't think the federal government needs to legalize anything, but I think some places are going to have some buyer's remorse. I think Colorado right now has seen their tourist market drop as a result of the legalization of marijuana because some people refuse to be around it. I don't want to smell the
border
skunk.
states? What about border states? Do you feel like if they legalized it in border states, then it wouldn't be
I don't
trafficked as much to the border?
Dude,
states?
I'm going to tell you right now, I don't know because I don't think it's a matter of.
Are you trying to get into a wall conversation or?
No, that's a big. Because
No,
I think
seriously.
but I think that what that does is that's a vehicle that some people use to get here. I mean, they just say, "Hey, man, I'm going to sit here. I'll be the mule this one time. I'll get your drugs across because I want to be here." And some people don't care, period, about what they're bringing here. I don't know that it's marijuana that we're worried about coming across the border. I think it's fentanyl. I think it's heroin.
I
I
agree
think
with
it's
that.
cocaine.
Yeah.
I think it's the hard stuff that's killing people.
But I still believe that thousands and thousands of pounds of marijuana
Oh, golly, man.
are brought across the border every
I'm not
day.
naive. I mean,
I just wonder, would legalizing marijuana, would it slow the trafficking of pot
well,
across the border?
and this same conversation was probably had during Prohibition.
Oh, it
Because
was.
it did not stop people from making moonshine. It did not stop people from selling alcohol illegally. If there's people that want to use it, they're going to. What I would like to see is each state
Mm-hmm.
probably develop a program or a plan to control distribution, to control, how doubt it is, because some of it is some bad stuff, dude, and some of it is, pretty tame.
He can smell that guy on Pikes Peak
Yeah,
right
dude,
now.
he's
I'm
still-
He can still. It's just he's still taking it in at
Dude,
this
I
moment.
thought I was going to get a rabies shot. I smelled the skunk. I'm like, where is that skunk, dude? I seen the dude smoking a hog leg, brother.
Well, I can tell you for a fact that the tourism industry has not gone down because of marijuana. That's what.
Well,
we're
my
talking.
tourism. I don't
Your
know
tourism.
Colorado.
Now, do you have some facts?
Yes, according to Forbes, as of May of last year, just the cannabis tourism industry was a $17 billion a year industry.
Yeah, okay, but is that what you want? Is that what you want to attract? A bunch of slit eyes going, hey,
But
man.
you know what? Here's the thing, though. It's people coming from non-legal states buying it,
Right.
and bringing it to.
Or no, going and using it. I mean, when I was in Vegas, they had a hookah bar, right? I mean, just
Well, hookah and marijuana are not the same.
dude, they were going in there and smoking marijuana because it's legal in Nevada at the hookah bar because it smelled like skunk factory. I'm telling you.
So
I walked by it when I was going to the liquor store. I know what I'm talking
So
about.
you're saying it's not Maui Wowie, it's skunk.
It's some bad stuff.
Well, but there've been like I said, there've been a lot of people capitalize on it. Like there is, they do things like this right here. They've got rolling sushi and joints in Denver, puffing while painting in Portland, ripping a vape on a party bus in San Francisco.
El Chapo did the same thing with cocaine.
But
did that make him right?
No,
No.
no.
That's what I'm saying.
But you're saying you're telling me that there's no benefit to these things making money for the state that legalize.
That's real
but
capitalism.
is that making money for the state though? I mean, what kind of tax revenue is generated? Is it statistically there $17 billion? How much of that went back to the state? Just like the lottery.
Well,
The schools are supposed to be better because of this lottery. That they're not. Are the schools in Colorado better?
Thing.
Wait, are the
That's
schools in
government
Colorado
thing.
better? How are they benefiting? Are the roads better? No. I'm just saying.
So basically, what you're saying is it's total your opinion.
I already said it's all my
It
opinion.
doesn't matter statistically what it is. It's your
My
upbringing and your beliefs.
exactly.
It doesn't matter
From
what.
a morality standpoint. I said there are certain, and literally, I stand by this 100%. There are some benefits, but I do not believe that those benefits outweigh the cons, if you will, to recreational use. I really don't. Now, if all you have to do is go to the doctor and say, hey man, I'm stressed out. I'm stressed out. I need a prescription for marijuana because I'm on edge constantly. And he said, all right, I can give you a low dose and you take a hit off of this or some half a gummy or whatever to mellow you out so you can sleep at night. I don't have an issue with that. But this guy that's going to go, man, I'm going to go get tore up on the weekend. It's the same as going out and getting drunk every weekend. I don't know who I was. I don't remember anything. I have no consequences of that.
Do you believe that a pot smoker doesn't know what they did the day before?
You mean like while they were high?
Do you think they wake up in the morning and say, man, I wish I knew what I did yesterday?
Oh. I think it could go either way. I think that it depends on the reaction that you as a person have and how much you did.
And
But
because
I will tell you,
everybody's different.
high is high. High is high.
It's a chemical
Drunk.
reaction.
You can get so drunk that you pass out.
You can't get too high. You can't get too high, I realize.
High is high. Drunk, you can be passing out drunk.
Okay, can you get too high though? I mean, can you get so high that you pass out?
High is high. In my experience, high is high.
Well, I've never experienced it, okay?
Okay.
So I'm just saying. I don't know.
High is high.
Hey, listen, I've heard some people talk about taking half a gummy versus taking one whole gummy, and they're like, I won't do a whole gummy again.
Oh well, and that brings up a good point. What's the kind of tolerance level?
Right.
Like what kind of tolerance do you have to have in order to
Well,
just like alcohol?
Years ago,
Cheech and Chong.
let's all admit,
I'm
I'm 50 years old, and things have changed over the years. You know, back when I was in high school, nobody ever talked about milligrams on marijuana or the amount of THC or whatever's in it. Now they're mutating the stuff, and changing what they have synthetic.
I was about to say, is that the point in your eyes, because you're con, so it doesn't really matter. In your eyes, is that the point where it becomes dangerous? When they start to go synthetic?
I can't say dangerous.
Okay.
But I will say you need a warning label.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you need to know what percentage is in there.
Well, because
because years ago you grew pot, you hung it and you dried it and you smoked it.
Right.
Well,
it's mostly Maui Wowie, but it's got a little.
But once you change that and you start adding things to it, then you need to put a warning label.
Okay. So when do you have to start regulating it?
Exactly.
So is that the point where you start regulating the weed? Is that where it cuts off, just from natural weed to I added synthetics to this? Here's my label. Like, if you're gonna be a pro, like,
well, you take whiskey. They put on the bottle
90 proof,
101 proof, 10 whatever. They give you.
Who's gonna proof it though? I mean, that's my deal. That's what I'm saying. That was the point I was trying to make.
There's so many different kinds of it, just in general, different plants and things like that. Yeah. Different, subspecies and all. It's nature.
Yeah. And
you got an oak tree, but you got a post oak tree. Like
you've got botanists that are out there doing whatever. And my uncle, I mean, he made a plum air or plum pear combination just by grafting, this and that. So that's what I'm saying. You could sit there and do whatever the heck you want to. You can make a cocaine marijuana plant if you wanted to.
I don't know about that, but yeah, I'd say you'd have to regulate by percentage of.
Well, but that's why it would be so difficult to legalize, is because, like I said, there's so many different species of that singular plant. Because if you want to get technical with it, a cousin of that plant is one of the one of the herbs used to make beer. Hops is a cousin plant of marijuana plant.
There you go.
Well, let's see, you learned something on this podcast.
Yeah. I might have to give up my beer.
There you go.
You have to give it up, Mr. Staunch.
I said that I'm on the fence, okay? Pro or con. I'm ready, I'll admit that. I will concede halfway. I think it would be okay.
Andrew?
I'm still exactly where I was when we started this.
There's pros.
Right in the
There's pros and there's cons, and
so he's halfway too. There you go. I appreciate that. Where you at?
I ain't moved.
That needle won't move.
No, you just wait till I retire. You just wait till I'm retired.
I've heard that before.
You'll know my stance on it when I'm retired.
Yeah, when I smell the skunk. Every time I go see Earl.
He's got skunk on his porch.
What's wrong? I got glaucoma.
I think I've already got it right now, but I have a job that won't allow me.
And you have a state that you live in that will not allow you also to have.
Okay. Well, I mean, we kind of beat this down, and we all kind of have our own opinions, and
that's what it is. It's always opinions.
And it was good to kind of talk about it and see what we all think about it, and
I guarantee you, this is one topic that everybody in this country, everybody that watches this show, has an opinion on. My sister, both of them, have an opinion. My dad has an opinion. You have an opinion. My mom has an opinion. Andrew has an opinion.
You have a twin sister.
Mm-hmm.
How close is y'all's opinion?
It's pretty different. I'll say that.
Well, that's good. Okay, well, I enjoyed talking about this, and
so we've agreed that America has somewhat gone to pot.
America has gone to pot.
Yeah.
For you, America's gone to pot.
yeah. And Dane thinks it's just gone to pot on the bad side of it.
And there's two different kinds of pot, apparently.
Yeah. All right. Well,
Thanks
we'll
for
see you next time.
showing up.
Thanks for showing up and watching us.
Thanks for showing up
appreciate
today.
it.
Yeah,
you
we
guys
want to
having
thank
me
Andrew
on.
for being here, and hope he comes back and enjoys us again.
We might use him as an expert again because he actually
God,
does.
stop saying
He
that.
actually
an
does
expert.
do some
And
some
we want-
fact finding.
And we also want to thank Rocky for all the notes he put in back in the background. See you later.